Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Tuesday. Of course, it was a bank holiday weekend, and what a weekend it was. Tremendous racing up and down the country, including classic action both at Limerick and Dundalk. Of course, we're going to start this week with the action from Limerick, the quarter-final heats of the willwego.com Irish St. Ledger. As always, I'm joined by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons and the Cheshire Cat, that is Sarah Kinsella. A lot to look back on from the last few days. So let's get stuck into it. My thanks again to Barry Call for stepping into my shoes last week. It's a rare break I get. Hardest working man in Greyhound racing, as you know. And let's kick off with the Ledger action. And Sarah, were you down at Limerick on Saturday night? I assume a big crowd for what was tremendous action.
No, I wasn't there. I was there for the first two rounds, and I took a rare weekend off because I'm the hardest working woman in greyhound racing.
Comment.
So I took a weekend off and I actually switched off on racing and everything, which is not like me, but you need it every now and again. But I looked at the results and it looked like a cracking night. Some brilliant performances. I actually was surprised by a few of the winners, I must admit. But yeah, a cracking night, a cracking weekend of racing all around, really. And everywhere's going well. There's a lot to take in, isn't there?
There is a lot to take in. Tommy, Sarah said it there, like one or two surprise winners, or not surprise winners, probably the wrong term, but it's not a four-timer I would have been picking, shall we say. Even you see the likes of Nocky and Dazzler, who we felt from the outset was a big player in this competition, would probably grow into it again. He did the fastest time, but he's returned 3-1. Like, it seems a big price, but a greyhound with his ability.
That surprised me a little bit. I don't know whether to take what way to take individual track prices, because it can be, it depends on the size of the market and how much money is around. But like, I'm a bit surprised that JC Craze is 5-4 favorite and Knocking Dazzler was 3-1. The 278, the 276 section looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, what he did early, I don't think I've ever seen a race won, a Leisure quarter final one as easily as this was, and so far out it was mad how he picked up such an advantage. I know he had Karma King, and the JT Craze is a favorite over Karma King and Naki and Dazzler. It was yeah, it was funny stuff. It was good. It was like that's the kind of performance we were expecting from Naki and Dazzler, wasn't it? Kind of somewhere along the line it was going to happen, because he's not always absolutely flying, but he has electric early pace. But when you timed everything right, I was just going to do a comparison there to see what Clonbrien Treaty's kind of sectionals were, because the 276 to me is absolutely huge. What Clonbrien Treaty did the last few weeks, 282, 286, 296. That 276 is a complete outlier. It's if the dog can keep doing that, he'd have won the Sprint Cup doing that.
I tell you what, the way he went into the corner, he certainly wouldn't have been out of place in the Sprint Cup. A dog with stunning early speed, Sarah. We saw it in the Kirby Memorial. It is a track, we've said it before, that a dog runs it runs it well once, that they'll continue to run well around there. And Knocking Dazzler certainly seems very happy around Limerick.
Oh yeah, it's the same can be said, I suppose, about Clonbrien Treaty, the way he was able to win the Conanani and then go on to the Ledger. Can it happen again? The way he's running it certainly can, and he's improving week after week. He just loves the track. I have to say, actually, when I was watching him in the first two rounds, I was thinking to myself, is this distance a bit of a stretch for him? But looking at that performance on Saturday night, I don't think so. He just loves the track, and that really, really helps, especially in a competition like this. It seems that he's getting stronger as the weeks go by, and that's what you need in a competition like this.
Yeah, Tommy. We're obviously going to start with this contest. We'll probably go in order of time. Nocky and Dazzler 29-49 wins at 3-1, very quick away, drew clear. I think that sort of sums it all up. There was traffic problems in behind. It got a bit messy. Certainly there was traffic on the opening corner, which ended the hopes of the likes of Jade's Rocket and Carmack King. Carmack King, who was sent off the 2-1 second favourite. JT Craze ran on well. Coulivanny Otto finally got his way sort of into a prominent position off the second bend, but even at that, he'd found sort of trouble spots himself. It was very much a one dog affair from the early stages. There's not an awful lot more you can say about Nocky and Dazzler, except that he just showed himself that he's in great form. In behind him, it's very hard to assess the form as well, but the fact that JT Craze was 5-4 tells you how well he has been running. He does seem to be a dog with the bit between the teeth at present. He's still there. Obviously, I'd be slightly concerned that he probably doesn't have the early speed of one or two of those ahead of him in the market, and that would be my biggest concern, as it would be with Coulivanny Otto. Like, he was 6-1. I think I saw one or two prices going up yesterday. He was only 6-1 outright. Now I wouldn't be backing him at twice that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. The winner we kind of talked about that remember, I think we're saying that the first round I watched the heat and then thought, yeah, that was grand. And then watched it again and went, ooh, that was a bit more impressive than I thought it was. And even getting beaten the last time by In Good Time, he was after missing the kick and having to battle really hard to get to the front, and then In Good Time just nabbed him on the line. In Good Time is a proper greyhound, so there's no shame in that. This kind of performance had been bubbling under. Now, you'd only hope, and I'm sure the connections are the same. You'd only hope that he didn't bust a gut doing that clock, because you can't do, like, that's as good a break as I've ever seen in Limerick. And I don't watch a huge amount of Limerick racing apart from the big meetings and that. But like, that 276, just watch it. Just watch the way he came out. It's absolutely phenomenal. One of the things I was impressed with the O'Reillys when he won the Conn Kirby was the way he improved through the competition. And we talked about it at the time, but I was actually chatting to a fellow, very shrewd punter, Limerick based as well. I was chatting to him during the week and just saying that the sections improved each time through the Conn Kirby. Now, I don't know that you can improve in 276. You probably can't. My only concern for Knocky and Dazzler now, and this is a very kind of stupid concern in one way, but it's just the way I think when I'm looking at trying to find a winner outright. Did he do so much the other night? Like, he is, look, he's not a strong stayer. He's getting home. He's fading quite strongly in the end at the closing stages. I suggest the track was probably back a bit, because to my mind that was 20 spots faster than 29.49. I mean, what he did to Greyhound, good Greyhounds. Yes, there was a trouble behind and a bit of bumping and bars and whatever, but like, what he did early to proper Greyhounds was savage. I mean, I don't know. I just this is me being typical me and being overcautious about things, but I just thought that maybe he did such a good run. I mean, it was, if you said to somebody you want your Greyhound to do the perfect run, you'd have a look at that. Like, absolutely fly out straight as a gun barrel in the first 25, 50 yards, get around the bend, let them do what they like in behind. And you're like the commentator, I think the commentator said, and I quite liked it. He said, did he say 16 lengths clear or something as a halfway or something? He made up a number. And you know what? I like that. I hate this kind of, he's 7 or 8, 10, 12 clear. Pick a number and just stick with it. Don't worry about if you're wrong. It doesn't really matter. We got the point of it. I actually thought the commentaries were very good, to be honest, about a couple of them in the heats. And
I'll tell you what we'll do later. We'll press pause and we get the ruler out, right?
Yeah, he was like, it doesn't really matter. He was making a good point, a point well made, let's just say. And the dog was like, he won by 4.5 lengths. Now, the strong stairs, could have any offers a strong stair. JT Craig a strong stair. They're bound to be running them down somewhat close home. But I just loved it. But I did, as I said to you, I'm hoping this is a repeat of the Conn Kirby, whereby the dog is being teed up to improve at each run. And maybe what he'll do is he mightn't do 276 next week. He might do 280, but he might do 28 or 29.39 rather than 29.49, because they've been really good at that.
We will get to it, but he's probably going to need to do a 280 because he's drawn on the outside of Clonbrine Treaty. Now that's the little sort of beacon at the end there. You're going, wow, like that's not what they call a reward for his efforts. It's going to be tricky. No. In behind him, as we said, Culavaniato and JT Craze, they progress. The three that went out, McNeil, Jades Rocket, and Carmack King. In terms of the clock, next fastest was Ballyhimmock and Rex, Sarah. They've worked wonders with this Greyhound. He was a dog that had injury, brought him back this year. A couple of big runs earlier in the year. He did a good run in Kilkenny in defeat, and then came back to Kilkenny and won again, and then came to Shelbourne Park, did a 28-10. A couple of good runs in Shelbourne in a couple of open contests. I think one of them was in the heat of the Champions Stakes as well. He finished on the field there, but then came to Limerick, and it was clear that they've kept him right. And big run the first round, 29.53. You can ignore his defeat in the second round, badly balked in the opening corner. But the other evening, I thought it was a perfectly professional display. Got to the front early, wins well at 2-1. Yes, Miami King came at him, but he was comfortably holding him, wins by a length. Great credit to his owners, and a dog that can certainly play a part in this ledger.
Yeah, of course. He ran an absolute cracker. I've been keeping an eye on this dog. Even that 28-10 run you mentioned in Shelbourne, I was there that night. That was a sensational performance. But he's one of those dogs, like when you're looking at the form and he's bulked and he's this and he's that. I knew that run was in him. And I'm glad to see him do it, because it's opening up this ledger so wide now, because you're sort of focused on all the top dogs throughout it, like Unanimous Panther doing the top class times and JT Craze. You tend to not dismiss, but you tend to come under the radar a little bit. And I was keeping a close eye on him. I was delighted to see him win, even though I had tipped Miami King in the race. But to hold off him is some feat, because Miami King has absolutely eaten the ground up down in Limerick. He's after taking to it like a duck to water. He loves it. But yeah, Ballyhemmock Rex, a very, very solid performance and a massive key player now in this ledger, I have to say.
Yeah, Tommy, he's long been a talented performer. Last year, he won the Shelbourne Champion 550. He beat the likes of Ben's Teddy Sober Glory in that contest. Yes, he was a big price in the night, but I don't think it came as a surprise to much people or many people. After timing alert, I had a little nibble on him at 16-1 in that final. He went on to be a finalist in the Tipperary Cup last year. Again, there's a long layoff between August and April. That was an injury layoff. He's come back this year as good as ever, and it's great credit to Billy and John Dunn. They've done a fantastic job. It's no surprise they've done a fantastic job with many dogs in the past, but this fellow's running hard.
And the fellow I mentioned a few minutes ago, the fellow does sectionals and the like and studies things, extremely shrewd fella. Told me last Thursday, I'd say, below in Galway, that he had backed Ballyhimmican to win the Ledger, and based on a great draw the other night. And he said he was going to back. I think he was going to back it to win the heat as well. I'm pretty sure he did. I met him in Galway, and um, talk about getting rewarded. You said Knockeen didn't get rewarded. This fella got rewarded with the draw of all time
Yeah.
in the semi-finals. He's got like he's prime position to go through as a winner, probably into the final.
If he traps on terms, he should go round in front, is what you're thinking.
What was most impressive the other night was that a dog came across his path in the first few yards, and the way he sidestepped him and showed an acceleration, like that's an instant acceleration. That there are dogs we've talked about in the past where if they get a little bit of trouble, they haven't got that acceleration to get themselves out of it. This dog doesn't do it straight out of boxes. He accelerates. He was deeply impressive doing that. I felt he was anyway. I thought he was really good actually, and he's like Sarah says, we know the ability's there, and looking at the caliber of dog that's left in the Ledger, he's right up there with them. 7-1 is probably a reasonable price even now, even though he was 16s before the quarter final. He's seventh is probably reasonable now, given the fact that he looks like he has such a good draw for the semi final.
Yeah. We'll get to the draw in a little while, but it certainly does have the run in his favour. Miami King was in second spot. He's running very, very well for Gary Dempsey. Prolific performer, 11 from 23, runs hard from the second bend, but he's similar to maybe the likes of a Culavaniato. Maybe he probably has a little bit more early than Culavaniato. He's going to struggle in the early yards, Sarah. I think we've seen it. Obviously we're in an era now where, Tommy will certainly allude to it. Tracks are that bit faster. It's harder to come from behind the best dogs in training. And when it comes down to it, yes, Knockeen Dazzler might have been picked up a night or two, and Clonbrine Treaty the same. They're the dogs that are dominating the market because they can go up very, very fast. And the likes of a Miami King, you suspect that something will get loose on him most nights.
Yeah, of course. And the clock suggests that as well. Even though he won his opening 2 rounds, he was probably one of the slowest heat winners, like 29.91 and 30.05. It's showing you like it's excellent what he's doing, but he's so much work to do. He has so much ground to make up, and you can't keep doing that week after week. We've seen that with dogs in various competitions down through the years. We always keep an eye on them. We always give them that chance, but they're never a big price when it comes to the finals, because you always have that question mark. Well, they've too much work to do. Can they do it? Because the early pace is key, and especially down in Limerick, isn't it? Like it's sort of a front runner's track, if you like. So he will have a lot more work to do, but he's running out of his skin for Gary Dempsey. Fair play to him. Like I seen him running in. I didn't know too much about him until recently. He was running in Shelbourne there back in sort of June, and I didn't know too much about him. And even coming into the Ledger, and then bam, he wins the opening 2 rounds. Like, so fair play to him. He's definitely come under the radar a little bit. Like.
Yeah, this was the dog that ran as a wide seat when he first came to Shelbourne Park. They bought him out of Shelbourne Park. He'd won a couple of races there, known as Tahina Bossman, bought by the connections. Like it's down as Tony Howard and Dave Lawrence, but as far as I know, there's about 10 or 12 of them involved in this. They generally buy in big groups, and they've got some really good dogs at their disposal. But this fellow has, he really performed for them. He's got a couple of good victories on his card through the years, and just a dog that's running very well. He won, obviously, you mentioned it there, sir. He won the valuable Resets Open 525 at Shelbourne Park, worth €10,000 back in early June, and here we are. He could easily find himself in the Ledger final, Tommy. I think that's the type of dog. Like, he's going to be hard to keep out of the frame, but again, he's not the type of dog you'd be backing to win the stake.
his early sections are too slow. It's not surprising when you see the way he runs that he can trial in 29:30. It's not a big surprise, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just the early sections. That's the problem. It gets you in a bit of trouble, and
Yeah.
it takes those, like what he do the other day, 29:62. So you're taking 4.5 lengths off the time you're doing a trial, and that's purely down to having to negotiate your way around greyhounds and a little bit of trouble or whatever along the way. So he's probably like that run the other day was to his best. Like that's like equivalent to a 29:30 for him. Now, if he gets a solo, he can do the 29:30 in the clock still, but will he get a solo? That seems very unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, and the draw, as you were saying, like he's
Yeah.
out in four. It's not as if he's on the fence and he has to worry about nothing else except for just going as fast as he can into the bend. He has to worry about trying to get across, trying to find himself with the space to do his
He's in
running.
brilliant fight. Yeah, he's a credit to connections, like the way he's running, to be fair.
Yeah, I know he
Yeah.
is. Ventry Faith was third, Sarah. This is a nice young dog. The penny hasn't fully dropped. Trapping has been his issue. Now he has a 204 and 207 at Shelbourne Park, but he's largely left them behind him, I'm afraid. At 289 was his best in the second round and still didn't lead from trap three that night. He finished third behind JT Crazy's third the other evening again, behind Ballyhimmick and Rex off a 301 and a 307 in the opening round. He's going to need to sharpen up.
Yeah, he is, but he's definitely a dog. I'd say they'll step up and trip. Like he's running home fierce strong, even like in Shelbourne Park when he's doing his best. I think it was 28:37. That was taking up the lead halfway down the back, I think. And he's you don't see him pop out and gone. He's not that type of dog. If anything, he's probably a similar runner to Miami King in the way that they're coming from behind and having to do so much work. But I'm glad Owen McKenna has something there because it's such a shame to see Karma King go out, especially we're back seeing him at his absolute best in the opening two rounds. But yeah, definitely a dog to keep an eye on and looking forward to seeing him step up and trip and where he's going to go after this. So look, he could go on and win the Ledger. I'm talking like he's not even. He could go on and do it. But again, he's a dog I knew very little about coming into the Ledger, and now we're all talking about him week after week. Like so, there's definitely more to come from. That's for sure.
Yeah, there is indeed. Let's go to the opening heat of the round, and this was won by Barefoot on Fire, racing from the inside. It's safe to say he made the most of the draw, Tommy. He was only sort of third or fourth into the opening corner. The outside Clonbrine Treaty went up well. The unanimous Panther Dog was just getting into second spot on the opening corner when he was pushed off. I suppose it was a sort of concertina effect. One pushed into two, two pushed into four, and all of a sudden Unanimous Panther found himself out of the washing. Clonbrine Treaty found himself 3 or 4 lengths clear, but in the end wasn't quite strong enough to hold the run of Barefoot on Fire, who got racing in second spot. There's no question about it. And back in third, also finishing like a train, was an extra gain. He's been marked in my book for 6 bends down the line. It's a shame they've missed the Corn Cullen with him because he could be anything over 6 bends. But Barefoot on Fire, a good winner. But I think this was another step forward for Clonbrine Treaty. I wouldn't be too disappointed that he hasn't won yet in the competition. I think it was a good run, and I still think he's a big, big player.
And extra gains pace down the back was ridiculous. The
Yeah.
change pace was absolutely savage. Okay, he's back in third. He's beaten 2 1/4 lengths in the end. It was a monster run, is what it was. Barefoot on Fire, yeah, missed a kick, but was able to use his line well. Clonbrine Treaty is doing what Clonbrine Treaty has been doing, is showing massive early pace. It's a funny one because we say like, oh, he's not getting home, and he's definitely not. But he's getting closer to the line each time, and we're getting closer to the final each time. And he's done this in the past. He has a history of being able to do this, of being able to get out in the final and get around in front. And the reason that often works is because the finals tend to be so competitive that if you can get around in front, there's likely to be a little bit of bump, a little bit of scrimmage, and maybe not too much trouble, but there's enough to kind of let you grab an extra length or two out of the out of your rivals, and that can be enough. Barefoot Nice is in great form. Or Fire, sorry, Barefoot Nice. Barefoot Fire is in great form. It was a good run. You just when 3 dogs in a row have run down Clonbrine Treaty close home, it's kind of hard to get a gauge on exactly what it is. He's been beaten half length, a length and a half, and 3 parts of it. He's been beaten by Miami King, Roanna Bonnie, and Barefoot on Fire now. I tend to be like you though. I would take more encouragement out of Clonbrine Treaties ever than anything else, and he can break better than he did. Unanimous Panther got though. I mean, as bad a trouble as without being knocked over, as bad a trouble as I've seen for a while. I mean, everywhere he tried to make a move, even out the second bend, he tried to make a move again. He got all sorts of trouble. I mean, it's just one of those runs. We kind of said that it could happen because he doesn't always fly out, and when it goes to show you when you get to the latter stages of competitions of this quality, you just can't afford to make a mistake, can you?
You certainly
Mm.
can't. As you said, unanimous Panther. Like it's actually crazy all the trouble spots he found himself in.
Oh, it's awful.
It was just an absolutely luckless run for him to even finish fourth was an achievement in itself. We mentioned extra gain, Clonbrine Treaty. Sarah, as far as Clonbrine Treaty is concerned, and it's a similar scenario with Knocky and Dazzler. It's sort of a shame that they are drawn against each other in the semi-finals, but it could lead the way to a cleaner final, given the fact that if one of the other doesn't lead, it just leaves them vulnerable. You know what I mean? The fact, if you gave the connection to Clonbrine Treaty one opportunity to knock one dog out of the competition, they'd be knocking out Knocky and Dazzler. And Knocky and Dazzler connections would be doing the same with Clonbrine Treaty because in each other, they have the perfect dog to get in their way. They're both wide seeds. They're both going up fast. They both sort of a similar racing line and very similar in terms of style. Clonbrine Treaty, it's hard to believe this is a dog that last year in the Ledger came from behind to win. He's not just quite getting home at the moment, but we know it's in the locker and he's definitely growing through the competition. I personally think, I find it hard to split Knocky Dazzler and Clonbrine Treaty. Clonbrine Treaty has been well used to wearing the stripes. He'll have to wear the orange jacket in the semi-finals. Does it make a difference? Does it get him out of traps a little bit quicker? I suppose that's the question we have to look at.
Yeah, but anything can happen. But the way that Knocky and Dazzler ran, you would like to think he's going to lead up. That's the way I'm looking at it, just based on last week's performance. Clonbrine Treaty, again, is another competition dog. He's relishing this. He's getting stronger week after week, but he's yet to win in the competition. He's just being caught out on that home stretch. And you'd like to think, he's obviously not the same dog he was last year. It's very hard for them to win back-to-back Ledgers. I mean, that's just a huge accomplishment. But despite him not getting home, he's still running out of his absolute skin. He's just meeting dogs that are that much stronger coming home. He's still done 29.61 there on Saturday night. Like, that's good enough to win the Ledger. So I hope they both make the final. I really do. I'd hate to see either of them go out because I think they deserve to be there and it would make the final all that more interesting.
I don't think either will, pack their bags if they're not in front. I think both would still run as hard as they possibly can.
Yeah.
I suspect Knocky and Dazzler might be more vulnerable if he's not in front than Clonbrine Treaty. We've seen it once or twice, Tommy, that when he was led, he he didn't finish as close as perhaps he should in terms of the clocks. But I still think obviously he's the 18 runs behind him now. I think he's improving and, the quality's still there. The fear is he's got the likes of JT Craze and extra gain in behind. And then the Barefoot on Fire, like all three of them certainly won't be stopping coming to line. Yeah. Let's talk about Barefoot on Fire briefly because he's a strange enough card, shall we say? He started at 100 miles an hour, Tommy. He won 28.20 on debut down around Cork Park, looked a champion, and it's just taken a while for the penny to drop. He's definitely what you've been given. He's been given a good education. Is the best way to put it. His debut was last October. Here we are now, sort of middle of August. He's only had the 5 wins, but he's had 20 odd starts. Hasn't always found the cleanest of runs. Certainly favoured by an inside draw the other evening. The engine is there, and I think he's only getting to sort of I think he's only starting to really use his brain now. Is that being a bit harsh on him?
I think there's a lot to like about him because he is the type of dog that can pop out and lead all. He's also the type of dog that when he doesn't, I think it's a very Paul Hennessy type trait in dogs. Actually, he can also miss a kick and find a way to qualify when you think maybe they can't. But he has that kind of ability to pop out, lead all, or else he got caught by JT Craze actually one night after leading, and then the other night he has to work hard to kind of get into a position where he can provide a challenge. He's a really likable dog. I mean, he's in 20 races. He's in the first 18 times. I mean, he has a card to suggest Paul hasn't been afraid to try and educate him. Like he's thrown him in. Like there's been no easy tasks there. But there are trainers who are like that. I would think that Robert Leeson is a very similar type of trainer to Paul in the way he educates the dogs in that way. And like the times where you look at the dog at the start of competition, like a derby, and say, Paul Hennessy, he hasn't much this year, we'll ignore Paul, he won't win it. Next thing that he has a dog in the final, that type of thing, because he's educated them all along, and all of a sudden he's peaking them for a certain time. So you'd always have to respect him. He's a good dog, that Barefoot on Fire. It's funny what you said, just go back for a second, about Clonbrine Treaty, Knockeen Dazzler. Like, Knockeen Dazzler is an uncomplicated dog, and Clonbrine Treaty is a bit more mercurial. And yet, I had the same conversation with that man in Galway last week, and said the same as you did. The Clonbride Treaty was the one more likely to overcome a little bit of trouble and qualify, despite the fact that he would actually that he would fade late regardless. It's very funny. I think it's the experience he's picked up, is what it is. We've seen it happen before, where he's missed a kick, you say maybe in Shelbourne Park, and shown this phenomenal pace to get to the front, or and then faded back again, maybe finish second or third. And it's a funny thing to say it about a dog like that. He seems to find a way as well to qualify. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but that semi-final is very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like me, Tommy, when I'm 6 points deep and you think that fella's never going to make it through the night, and all of a sudden you find that spark and you just keep going, you battle through, you know what I mean?
And this morning we have the proof of it.
Jägerbomb. Stop talking with Jägerbomb, Sarah, will you?
You'll vomit everywhere.
Too early in the day. We're recording this in the morning. Yeah, it was an interesting heat. It was a good winner, but again, a lot of eyes are more likely going to be on Clonbrine Treaty going forward than they are Barefoot on Fire. But Barefoot on Fire can certainly play a part in this competition. Now let's get to the last of the heat winners, and I think this was very much one for the locals. A tremendous performance, Sarah. We're going to let you talk about this. Hazel Hill Bucko, trained by young Lucy Roach. Given what you do for the board, given what you do for the sport in terms of the publicity and like these sort of stories, Lucy Roach just that's music to your ears, isn't it?
Ah, yeah, it's great. Like, that you want to see young people, but young women especially. Like, we have probably the most women trainers we've ever had in history now at the moment, but we want that to continue. And it's funny, like, I'm probably going to go off topic here a little bit, but I was talking to someone recently and they were asking me, like, oh, you have a lot of nieces and nephews. Do any of them help you? And none of them do. They have no interest in the greyhounds. And I have tried everything I can to get them in and come and walk. The dogs will just come and gallop on a Sunday or whatever.
I find bribery works. Just pure hard cash.
Doesn't even
that generally
work.
Works, yeah.
Tommy
will tell you too. He's got 4 kids. Bribery works for everything.
Yeah, well, only to a certain point. But you run out of money quick enough doing that then too. But it's hard to get young people in, especially like with us. I was born into it and I'm obsessed with it. So you'd think that your family and your nieces and nephews would be the same, and it's not that simple. So it's great to see young people getting into it. Look, I've seen this dog run, and I think he only qualified in 4th to get through the first round, I think, if I remember rightly. But that was an absolute cracking performance. That's probably a career best from him as well.
Oh, there's no question it's a career best.
He doesn't have a whole lot of running, like, do you know what I mean? But that will give him a confidence boost now, you'd like to think. He's obviously he's a wide seed, isn't he? So I don't know how many wide seeds are actually left in this. You've got Clonbrine, Knockeen, Hazel Hill.
There's 3 wides and 1 middle.
So he'd be like, depending on what gets through, obviously, in the next round. But yeah, look, just brilliant, really, really good. 29.65, 6-1, and in good time. I had put up in good time because he thought he ran a cracker the week before, and he's a dog that you always have to fear because he's gotten to so many finals and big competitions and stuff like that. He's kind of a dog that you just have to always be wary of. You can never write him off. I'm so delighted to see that Hazel Hill Bucko was able to hold off a dog like that. I know it was only a neck in it, but still, a cracking result, and the story of the night by Farian.
Yeah, Tommy, he's more than just a story, this dog. You look at his card. Yes, he's a January 22, but he has the card of a young pup. He has the card of a dog that's only learning his trade. He's only had the 8 races. He started his career down in Galway, was second in 28.90, beating the lane 28.97 in Galway. So a bright start to his career. Soon won a race in Limerick over the 550 yards, 30.10. But then had a layoff between March and July. Maybe had a bit of a niggle or something like that. Did a couple of reasonable sprint trials in Limerick. But then they decided to throw him into the Ledger. And the fact that they did that sort of sums up what they thought of him. He won his trial stake in 29.78, and it was straight into the Ledger. He was 4th in the opening round, 3rd the following week. But the other night, again, we've used this way of looking at things in the past. If you look at this race blind and then look at the results, you would have expected to see the 4-6 favorite winning it. In terms of, if you didn't know the form
The
beforehand,
way it
you would
panned
have
out, yeah.
expected. He ran like a 4-6 chance. He flashed out, showed great early speed, runs fluently from start to finish, holds in good time by the neck, 29.65. I would suggest we haven't got to the bottom of this dog yet, given the fact that he's so inexperienced. I just like the way he did it. I really did like the way he did it. I don't think we'll be talking about, a good news story in about 3 or 4 months' time with this fella. I think this fella could turn into a proper dog.
I think he could. I don't think it's going to be the Ledger, although that although that was definitely more fluent. It's just a really nice step forward with each run. I mean, the run behind you finish fourth and you qualify fourth behind the super fast Gordon is kind of you're fortunate enough that you're in a stake that where first four qualified. Then you step up and nicely, and then the sectionals 3, 294, 285. Like it's the clocks aren't quite the same. You have the 2993, the 3001, but then you have the 2965, and there's no reason, even though it's an outlier at the moment, there's no reason it won't be quite common for this dog, because I think it will, like you, I think it'll do better. It'll do better with the sectional, do better than 285, which actually is good enough anyway to be competing with most greyhounds early, and it'll do better than 2965. It mightn't be this competition, but I definitely agree with you, and it'll be interesting to see the campaign the dog gets after this, where and how to kind of further his education before. I presume it'll get a tilt at the Derby. Why not? Like, if you're able to do 29.65 in heat of the Ledger, you're definitely entitled to take your chance in the Derby. So I would be
Well,
like you. I would think he can take.
Lucy's grandfather James was never afraid to bring one up to Shelbourne Park if he had
Yeah.
the ammunition. And you suspect it'd be a similar scenario with Lucy herself.
Uh,
Um, he looks a nice dog. He's bred in the purple, like Dramana Bucko.
yeah.
Obviously, he's very early in his stud career, but he's made a very bright start. Also, it's worth pointing out one or two of them have had some great form around Limerick. Of course, Merit's Inclusion was second in the Kirby. He was the son of Dramana Bucko. But Flat White, I don't know if either of you remember her. She was trained by Pat Buckley for a little spell. She had a
Yeah.
28-21 run around Shelbourne Park on her card. So, like, bred in the purple, lightly raced. Yes, has had a little break there in the middle of the season, suggesting there was a niggle or something. But at his current rate of progression, he could be anything. There's no question about it. He certainly showed the early speed the other night to suggest he could challenge against the very best already. May need to strengthen up a little bit. For all that in good time is a very fast greyhound. If you're 4 lengths clear of him, you'd be expecting to still beat him. He only holds on by a neck, but certainly going the right way. And well done to Lucy Roach, who has to be said, this wasn't her coming out night. Like, she's been doing great stuff for quite a while now, Sarah. It's been a couple of months now where her name has popped up a few times.
Yeah, and long may it continue, I hope, as well, because we all know that you can quickly you lose interest in any sport if things aren't going well, and it's a big thing to take on. And I'm sure she has a massive support network behind her, and she's getting a lot of praise. So fair play to her. Keep it going. It's a great thing to see.
Ledger semi-finals to help you, won't it? It'll help you
Well,
keep the heart going.
it definitely keep your spark alive, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's talk about the two semi-finals, Tommy. The opening heat: JT Craze, Barefoot on Fire, Kilcolgan Whitney, Extra Gain, Clonbrine Treaty, Knockeen Dazzler. As I'm calling out the first four names, you go, oh, I wouldn't mind being in that heat. And then all of a sudden it gets that much hotter with the two early pacers on the outside, Clonbrine Treaty, Knockeen Dazzler. We've spoken about the two, and how much will depend on which gets first run. It'd be interesting to see how Clonbrine Treaty comes away from Trap 5. Knockeen Dazzler is in his beloved stripes yet again. On the inside, Paul Hennessy is a bit unlucky to get his two side by side. But they are two that can both progress. They're both very strong. If they get a clear passage into the opening corner, they have every chance. Extra Gain, well, we know what he'll be doing. He'll be absolutely flying home. Kilcolgan and Whitney, 21-0, remains a maiden, but in the semi-final of a Ledger. I doubt she's going to be opening her account at the 22nd time. So I'll be putting a pen through her, but it's a very hard one to call. It's the sort of race where you'd like to have your decision after 5 yards.
Yeah, if you ask your bookmaker, can you have that? See what they say. It's very difficult because when Clonbrine Treaty's previous form out Trap 5 isn't great, and tended to miss the kick and whatever else. But he's a much older dog now, a much more mature, more experienced dog now. I just wonder, will he break? If he breaks at all, and I don't mean flies out of traps, if he breaks at all, like he has the early pace to catch Knockeen Dazzler. His early pace that he showed the first 2 rounds, maybe not the other night, is absolutely world class. the pace he's shown down to the third bend is absolutely phenomenal. He has the pace to catch Knocking Dazzler. I think I'd prefer the other way around if I was Knocking Dazzler's connections.
Mm.
Seems funny, but then the funny thing is, it like you said, Ian, we'll know within a split second of whether it makes any difference or not, because one of them could be gone and one of them left, and that's the end of that. There's no contact. But I just wouldn't like where Knocking Dazzler is, because Clonbrien Treaty, I don't envisage him missing the kick and not being involved at all. And he tends to take a step out to his right. In a way, you would say if they could avoid each other, they could both qualify. It's unusual because of that type of when you have dogs of that type, they tend not to qualify when they're together.
Yeah,
Because one of them gets a bit of a rub, and that's it. And there is an awful lot of stamina. But there are four greyhounds in the race that don't have massive early pace. And these two have exceptional stuff.
I'm going to say this. I think if Knocking Dazzler is going to lead him around, he needs to get a length of traps. I don't think he can outpace Clonbrien Treaty into the opening corner.
If he's a length in front out of the traps, Clonbrien Treaty probably leads on the bend.
Yeah, if not the bend, the second bend.
Yeah.
Because Clonbrien Treaty has shown in Limerick that he's not afraid to sort of skip inwards on that opening corner. Sarah, what's your thoughts on what is certainly the contest of the competition thus far?
Yeah, I was going to say I can't see JT Craze setting the pace. Maybe Barefoot on Fire. Like, he's a 281. And doing 29.54. That's potentially could be a pace setter if 5 and 6 make any way trouble for each other. Kilgalgan Whitney, who's running an absolute stormer qualifying, by the way, for Karen Gilgam, definitely won't lead up. Extra Gain definitely won't lead up. And I tend to agree with Tommy. And I love Knocking Dazzler, but I don't think he could lead up Clonbrien Treaty. I just don't. But in saying that, I think there's at most a length, not even a length between them going into that first bend. Yeah. But they both stay their lines, I hope. So I'm going to go with Clonbrien Treaty to lead, Knocking Dazzler in behind. But I do think JT Craze will put in a huge run down the back straight and rattle them coming home. And I think
he's not a dog we mentioned a lot. We've mentioned him in earlier rounds, of course, but he's massive pace. Like, he really does have massive pace.
Seeing him in person, it'd blow you away now, it really would. It's very impressive.
If he is to win, he's probably going to need to trap alongside his kennel companion and hold him into the opening corner, though, because Barefoot on Fire won't give up his inside line. If he did happen to get a length on JT Craze, he's going to slip onto that fence, and JT Craze then has to get around him. It's as Jimmy Greaves once said, Tommy, it's a game of two halves. We'll be looking at Clonbrien Treaty and Knocking Dazzler in the early yards, but off the second bend, you'd be glancing to see which of the big, strong finishers is closest in terms of JT Craze, Barefoot on Fire, or Extra Gain. Kilcolgan Whitney, she's also a big finisher, but you'd suspect she'll be well behind them at that point.
I'll tell you what, the Extra Gain, the pace he showed the other night, wherever he is, I'd be worried about him. I mean, the pace down the back is phenomenal. If there's any bit of a bump in between the front two, he's capable of getting right into finishing in the first two, never mind the first three. JT Craze is a strong dog. Barefoot on Fire would probably lead the inside. It's not 100% certain that he'd clear JT Craze, but if he does, he's a player, because you're 29.40 something on his clock. JT Craze is 29.40 something on the clock. I mean, they both have faster clocks than Knocking Dazzler has so far. I said it earlier on, I only touched on it, and I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I just felt the track was a tiny bit back the other night.
Okay, are you both for Clonbrien Treaty on the night?
I tell you what, I wouldn't back it.
I'll go for him.
I wouldn't back it.
Yeah, if your life was on the line, you had to back something.
If my life was on the line, I'd probably go JT Craze.
I hope your life's not on the line, honey. Tommy.
I'd pretend I was somebody else and didn't have a clue about, or actually wouldn't have to pretend. I wouldn't have a clue about Greyhound racing. So I'm not having a bet. I can't like you said, Ian, this isn't having a bet on a 29-second race. This is having a bet on a 1-second race.
This is a race where I'd be betting prices. You know, if they went 6-1, something like a JT Craze or Barefoot on Fire, they're not going to. But I think I'd probably back one of them with a view that you have more than just the one chance. because if you back Clonbrine Treaty or Knocky and Dazzler, like after 15 strides, you could be ripping up your ticket. It's that sort of contest. It's a cracking race. It would have been a fantastic final. Hopefully, three of the fast, well, 3 or 4 or 5 go through and set up a cracking final. I'd love to see both bottom 2 going through, because I think they are the dogs that provide the real spark. But we'll see. On to the second. He's Coolavani Otto, Ventry Faith, Ballyhimmock and Rex, Miami King, In Good Time, and Hazel Hill Bucko. It's definitely the slightly weaker of the 2, Sarah. I think that's fair enough to suggest. Last week's form would suggest that Hazel Hill Bucko will be certainly prominent on the outside. I'd be expecting Ballyhimmock and Rex to get the better of Coolavani Otto, Ventry Faith, and probably Miami King into the opening corner. In Good Time is a strange one. Sometimes he goes up fast, sometimes not. But I suspect Ballyhimmock and Rex and Hazel Hill Bucko will be the 2 pace setters. My own choice would be for Ballyhimmock and Rex. I think he's running very well. I think he's a great draw here.
Yeah, I'd tend to be siding with Ballyhimmock and Rex just based on the fact that he's experience as well. And the way he ran last week. I know it was only a 296. It's not the most epic sectional, but it's enough for me. He's doing 29.55. So as soon as that dog hits the ground, he's gone. In Good Time, he's an excellent dog, as I mentioned earlier on, but he's very much so dependent on setting the pace, I think. Hazel Hill, I mean, I didn't give the dog a chance last week, and he came out and popped out and done 29.65 with a 285. He has to do that again. There's a lot of ifs, buts, and Miami King is going to be coming from behind. Ventry Faith's going to be coming from behind. Coolavani Otto is going to be coming from behind. So based on all of that, I'm going to go with Ballyhimmock and Rex.
Yeah, Tommy?
Ballyhimmock is just 296, doesn't matter whatsoever. It's a sectional into the bend. I mean, the other night, 296 was based on the dog stepping out across them and actually forcing him to sidestep and accelerate. He could do 286. There'd be no problem to him. He looks to me, he looks a certain leader. I know the Hazel Hill Bucko dog.
He's
could do it again.
If I was to say he's a certain leader, I would mean he's a certain leader by the second bend, because even if the Hazel Hill dog gets a good run into the opening corner and leads narrowly, you'd suspect he'll stay middle to wide, and Ballyhimmock and Rex will have the inside to get through anyway. But
yeah,
as you said, that first section, there's a long way from that first section to the corner. Like Sarah mentioned, the 281 Barefoot on Fire. I would suspect the other 2 dogs are 2 lengths faster from that 281 into the opening corner. And it could be a similar scenario here.
Yeah, and look, to be honest about it, you're not factoring in Good Time potentially being in the way of Hazel Hill Bucko. It didn't happen the other night, but In Good Time's a track record holder who popped out to do that. He has early pace. He's better than he showed the other night. Certainly a lot better out of traps. He went from 289 to 297. If he goes back to 289 again, Hazel Hill Bucko has to work a lot harder to get to the front. I think Ballyhimmock and Rex, because of the acceleration, the fact that he has 2 slow starters on his left, he has a slowish starter, a slow starter on his right. Ballyhimmock and Rex probably pops out and goes, my God, where are all the dogs? They're all behind me for a change, and flies around in front. I actually think he's a proper bet, Ballyhimmock and Rex.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what price they send them off. 2 wonderful semi-finals. Yeah. Will we go.com, Irish St. Ledger. Look forward to at Limerick on Saturday night. Sarah, are you in Limerick on Saturday?
I don't think so. No, I think I'm just going to be down there for the final.
Okay.
And there's the Rose of Tralee event on in Tralee that afternoon. So it'll be a great day of racing. I'll be in Kerry for the Rose of Tralee action, and then straight down to Limerick for the Ledger. So I'm buzzing. Can't wait.
Busy woman. We have to mention before we go the final race on the card. It was the last of the 7 heats of the Con Murphy Bookmakers A1 Stakes, and some good action in that A1 stake. That'll continue again on Saturday night at Limerick. The last heat was won by a dog called Jebel Ali Paddy. Jebel Ali Paddy, trained by Lucy Roach. She had a double on the night, fantastic double, but owned by the High from Dubai Syndicate. Can you suspect who was a member of the High from Dubai Syndicate? The Bowl Joe Sheehan. He's hanging around until the end of the Ledger. Sadly, he was there on Saturday night, but had to leave before the last race. Didn't get to see his own dog because Joe won't turn down a euro. He had to get to a gig. Yeah, there's no such thing as, or there's no show like a Joe show. Well, there was no show from the Joe show for his own contest. Hopefully he'll be there to see Jebel Ali Paddy winning again on Saturday night. Well done again to Lucy Roach. Good one for Joe and for Lucy. Let's move on because we have to get to Dundalk. The quarterfinal heats of the Bar One Racing Irish Sprint Cup were the dominating action on Saturday night. 4 brilliant performances. Tommy, I'll bring you in here. Carrick Aldo came roaring back to life at 2084. And Broadstrand Sid was beaten a length and a quarter in second spot. And I think both sets of connections will be mighty happy with this. Carrick Aldo was more sharp at boxes than he has been in recent times. This was more like the Carrick Aldo of last year around Dundalk. Superb run. Broadstrand Sid missed the kick compared to certainly his opening round effort. Absolutely tore into the opening corner. I don't think any dog has ever gone as fast into the opening corner of Dundalk as Broadstrand Sid did the other night. He went to the front briefly, was joined again by Carrick Aldo off the second bend. And Carrick Aldo was carrying the more momentum, went on to win by a length and a quarter. But I don't think either sets of connections will be disappointed.
No, I think Carrick Allo actually was brilliant in the previous week when he got pushed wide off the bend and still won. He won from an impossible position, doing 21.05. So the 2084 is no surprise to me whatsoever. He has been in brilliant form in each of the 3 rounds so far, and that was yet another step up. Now, Broadstrand Sid, as far as I can see, and this again, you're looking at a video. To me, he seemed to rub the rails and go down. He genuflected at the first bend.
I described it as took a false step.
Yeah, I said he genuflected. He just seemed to go down a little bit on his front legs, and how he recovered, I don't know.
When you're going as fast as he was going at that point, it can happen.
He's not experienced, and it's obviously a concern. Carrick Aldo, I just really don't want to take anything away from Carrick Aldo here either, because he's one of my favorite greyhounds in training. He is absolutely in the form of his life. He's in a good form now, if not better than he was when he won this last year. He's a joy to watch as a sprinter. Broadstrand Sid is just a new kid on the block, and I think would he have won the heat the other night? I think he probably would have. Although Carrick Aldo is really strong up the straight. Really strong up the straight.
He actually runs the sprint like a good sprinter, but a sensational 5.25-yard dog. His pace up the home straight was colossal. Sarah, you're in Dundalk a lot more often than myself and Tommy. Have you seen many going to the corner faster than Broadstrand did the other evening?
No, it's pretty sensational, isn't it? I mean, yeah, we love the 400 in Dundalk, and it's been a very lucky place for us over the years. Even the old Dundalk before that. But Broadstrand Sid, yeah, and he's a youngster, and his future is bright. But my God, do I love Carrick Aldo. And it's a brilliant training performance, because I know it's easy to say, oh, but should you have the dogs? Oh, it's easy. It's not that simple. Like, to go and reach to win. He won the final last year in 2080, right? Then he goes and makes the Laurels final, right? Absolutely brilliant. Like, to go from sprint to 5.25, a different track, it's just brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Comes back into Shelbourne, does his trial 1902, and I remember speaking to David Murray that night, and he was like, oh, I thought he'd do better than that. Comes back again a few weeks later, does 1843. He's just getting back to himself bit by bit. He got turned over or knocked over or something in the semi-final of the Toko Cup, I think it was, and I was like, oh no, me poor dog, like. And then does trial after trial after trial. He babysits him, he wraps him up in cotton wool, and he does 2104, 2105, and then 2084. Like, hats off to David Murray for getting him back to this level. I know I'm going on a bit now, but like, I just think that's savage, and I really do think he deserves to win this again. He's doing everything right. The fact that he's able to, as you mentioned, it's a very good point. He's bringing in that 5.25 form into this sprinting contest. And that's key. We all love to sprint. You're out and gone, blink and you miss them. But to have that middle pace as well is obviously
Dundalk is a different sprint, isn't it? It's just a different beast.
Yeah, it's a long drive home. My God, it's hard to get home in that 400.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful track. It really is. They deserve more big finals there, to be honest with you. It's a stunning track, safe track. Brilliant. Yeah, no, Carrick Aldo was stunning. But and that black nose Clover as well ran an absolute cracker in 21-24. So yeah, brilliant contest.
He's only young, the black nose Clover. He's only July 22, a member of a very fast litter. Yeah, I thought he ran very well in defeat back in third spot. But you know, the front two are different gravy. Tommy, it's no secret at this stage. I think David Murray is something of a master trainer. I greatly respect him. Anytime his name appears in a greyhound, you have to show him the utmost respect.
No, big time. As I say to you, you just can't dislike that Carrick out of the dog. He's a terrific dog. 5.25 for 400 yards. The 400 yards with the long finish is actually ideal for him. He's just powered up that straight. In fact, if anything, he doesn't look as sharp in the first few yards as last year. But I bet you, if he gets to the final, and hopefully he will, he'll fly out.
He was a dog through last year's competition, improved. And the only night that he really took a flyer was in the final. So, you know, he's probably ahead of last year's schedule in terms of his progress through the competition.
Yeah.
The next heat winner I want to mention, Elite Kursk. 2089, a son of Elite Black, who himself was owned and trained by Miles and Padge Robin. Padge Robin passed away last week. Miles is hugely involved in all the back work in Enniscorthy, a driving force behind the track. Miles is a great chap. He lost his father early in the week, and for him to win on Saturday night with Elite Kursk, a dog who's very much the apple of his eye. He's the star in the kennel, one of the first Elite Blacks to hit the track. I think this dog is where Carrick Alda was last year. He looked a nice dog in the first round, second round, and has really, really taken to the place. The 5-dog Pavilion Fire took a flyer the other evening, and Leith Kursk just took a step right and went. And by the opening corner, it was game over, ball burst. This was a brilliant performance by a Greyhound that has, at the moment, a very, very high ceiling. I would not be surprised if, Tommy, we saw this dog rocking up to a likes of a Laurels with a big life. He stays to 5.25, but I'll tell you something, he's a hell of a sprint over 400 yards. This was a brilliant run the other evening, and given the fact that, you know, Miles would have been very busy during the week, of course, burying his late father, Padge, who was a great Greyhound man himself, who was involved in Enniscorthy track, was a good trainer back in the day. I would imagine this would be a very, very special victory for Miles and the family. Elite Kursk, he looks a proper dog, Tommy.
No, he's a proper dog. And what you like about him stepping up to four bends again when he goes back over four bends for the likes of a Laurels is that he doesn't seem to be a flash out of trap dog. He has the acceleration. As you said, the 5-dog Brilliant Fire dog stepped out across his line and he just accelerated by him. Now he's not a he's not a dog that convinced me that he's a certain seed.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? He comes a little bit middle into the straight and then he goes nearly rails by the time he's going down the straight. I don't mind it too much because I like what he did early. I think he's just a clever tracker. He can do all those things he wants when he's in front and there's nothing inside him or outside him or whatever. Maybe that's just because he has a bit of room around him. He's deciding that, hey, I can float over here toward the far rails or whatever. But I think he's a terrific dog. I liked him after the first round. I didn't know anything about him, to be honest about it. Didn't know anything about him. Then I thought he ran a savage race in the second round. And this wasn't a surprise. And again, 2089, right? 5 spots off what Carrick Allen did. You could probably take the 3 or 4 spots off for having to sidestep and accelerate by Pavilion Fire, and then you have that most likable of Greyhounds, Trinity Junior, running on into second place. Just the quality of this bar one sprint is I don't know. I say people might correct me on this one. I haven't seen it before. The overall quality, the depth of quality for ever, honestly, ever.
We've only lost one or two big guns, and all the big guns are there going into the semi-finals, which is setting up lovely. Sarah, I know your dad. I know he would have loved the likes of Elite Kursk. He loved the dog like that when he hit the ground, he'd go. And that's exactly what this dog does.
Yeah, it's sensational. And just after copping there, from the first round, a 7.32, then a 7.15, and then a 7.02. Like, he's improving massively. He's obviously again, like a competition dog. He just loves the running and he's going to be getting stronger as each week. But my God, we'd all love one of them in our kennels, wouldn't we? Yeah, that's exactly what you want them to do.
He actually dipped under the track record in Enniscorthy for a trial prior to this competition, sending out signals that he could be a bit of a player in it. I was keeping a close eye on him after seeing that trial, because you don't see trials like that in Enniscorthy. Like, that's just out of this world at 1848. And then the 21-23, as you said, Sarah, it's off a 7.32. So you do the maths, like, you take, like, we're after taking 30 spots off it, and that's what he's doing. He's going over 30 spots faster on the winning clock. I just think there's no real ceiling to him. I don't know where it's going to stop his progress, but he's a hell of a good dog. Trinity Junior, he's probably not a sprinter. You know, there's no question about it. He's doing unbelievable running around the opening 2 bends, and he's finishing like a train, but he's running with such enthusiasm. He's the son of Law Hill Blake, so there should be loads of early speed there, and there has been for years and years. But the fact of the matter is, he's running like a 4-bend runner, over the two bends, but he's going to be hard enough to keep out of the frame. On the nose, ran well in third, a kennel companion to Trinity Junior. The other heat winners I want to mention, Romeo Taylor Sarah. He did everything right. He broke fast, in charge from the early yards, in contrast to the other Kobe. Sadly, he completely missed the kick, and he only fails by a short head to qualify. It's sad. I thought Trap 1 would suit him lovely. He got a bump at Traps last week, and he was struggling to recover from that. I thought maybe Trap 1 if he trapped on terms, but he's never trapped the best from the inside box, never. And those that frequent Dundalk tell you Trap 1 isn't the place to be either.
Yeah,
it was
it's a
proven
tough
the other
trap.
night with the other Kobe. He missed it.
Yeah, and that's like, Jesus, you'll miss it down there and you may forget about it because there's just too much pace in front of you. But I was kind of glad to see Romeo Taylor reverse the placings with Road Exile. They've met a good few times in their sprinting career. So the 2099 was an absolute epic performance. But Road Exile is still one of my favorite sprinters in training. And I did put him up in my column. I tipped him, but I was also kind of half delighted that Romeo did win because I think they got to the final of that the super sprint in Cork together as well. And so they've met a good few times. So yeah, I love the rivalry between dogs. You know the way sometimes we have to crack as well, like about match races and stuff like that. They're maybe not them two, but you'd love to see more match races as well with the sprinters. Maybe it's something that the lads would consider doing in the future. I'd love to see it, like the likes of Balnakill Alpha and Road Exile or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Remember we spoke about that before. But yeah, unfortunate to see the other Kobe go out really, but I think that was always going to happen because he's a Derby winner. Be very unusual to go on and win a sprint, wouldn't it? But sure, look, they tried it and they got him this far, and it was a wonderful thing to see him do it and getting him back into that that level of fitness, considering that he'd been retired and all of that sort of stuff. So look, he owes them nothing at this stage, but I thought Romeo Taylor was very, very good.
Yeah, Tommy, the other Kobe going out in fourth spot. But as Sarah said, these rivalries, we do find them popping up again and again, especially in the sprint, sort of discipline. And Romeo Taylor and Road Exile, they're getting well used to each other at this stage.
They are, yeah. Look, lots of things about this heat. We'll go from backwards in four, finishing fourth. The other Kobe seemed to come out kind of half sideways out of the trap, slightly stumbles. It looks, if you watch the video, it looks like he tried to correct himself. It's like he was looking out right and then tried to set himself straight to come out of traps, and it just didn't work. He hesitated. He ran like all his class is still there. All the class is still there. Ran his heart out, just unlucky not to qualify. The real interesting one is Dynamic Force. This dog has immense ability. Now, I wouldn't like to raise the point too much, but his tail was up all over the place at the first and second bends. And even when he was pulling up into the escape, his tail was all over the place, right? Bit of a concern. But I tell you, maybe and hopefully, maybe it was down to the fact that he was running up the back of a dog into the first bend. He missed it, right? His sections aren't great. This is a dog that has the ability to do a time that any of these dogs in the sprint have. He's phenomenally fast. I hope to God he can find a way to stay 525 because he's a dog that could be a proper Laurel's Greyhound. Like his sections 723, 715, and 722 are going to leave him with an awful amount of work to do. But if you watch him closely, he has savage ability, Dynamic Force. I mean proper ability. You see what I mean? Or you're probably looking at the replay of the video.
I'm actually looking at something else.
He is a dog.
It's as you say it. He's a dog that's caught the eye on more than one occasion. He's far from the finished article. When did he appear first to Paul Hennessy?
You don't know.
Not sure.
He's down to
Yeah,
Paul
check the PDFs for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check the PDFs. I'm not sure he's with Paul long. He certainly wasn't he certainly wasn't down to Paul when he won at Shelbourne Park in 1875. That night he showed all sorts of pace. Yeah, he's a very, very fast greyhound. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
He's a dog I really, really like. I actually thought at the first was it the first round maybe? Yeah, it was the first round. He was second to Neon Knight. I actually thought this is the dog that could potentially win this competition. he was only beaten by Broadstone in the second round. He's actually shown all sorts of pace. I think things aren't going exactly right for him. I think he did show the first night though that he wanted to kind of move in at the bend quite tightly, and it wasn't that there was space there, like I said about the previous dog, Elite Curse, that there was space around him. There wasn't space around him, and he wanted to move in anyway. So it's just a little bit of learning required there. But I think he's a dog I'd love. I hope he's right and he's okay to take his chance, whatever, next Saturday night. More so, I'll be looking down the line to him and hopefully get him to stay 5-2-5 and be a proper, maybe a Laurel's dog. Road Exile is around a while. He obviously came out of Yall. He's a dog we know very, very well. He always runs well, but you always think that if Romeo Taylor does things right, Romeo Taylor will beat him. But Romeo Taylor doesn't always do things right. If you look at his three sections so far,
I'm more of the opinion of whoever hits the lids on the night will win. I think they're both capable of doing a similar type of run. Road Exile was more consistent at traps last year. If he finds his consistency at boxes, like he is a 2090 in his card, like he's capable of doing that most nights.
But you might, but the other dog is doing 699, then a 711, then a 694 the other night. 694. Like I mean, if you look at Carrick Aldo doing the 2084, what did he do the other night? He did 704. His three sections so far: 712, 718, and 704. And the Romeo Taylor dog is 699 and 694 in there. Like the Romeo Taylor dog, we've seen him over 525. We've seen him over 525, but he has. It's just that I don't know what he's going to do one night to the next. To be honest about Romeo Taylor,
the corresponding night last year, the third round of the Irish Sprint Cup, Road Exile did a 693, 2084. Like that's what he's capable of himself. But again, he was more consistent at boxes last year, I think.
But I haven't seen that recently. Have you?
No, but he's still showing loads of foot. And so one suspects that if he does hit the lid some night, he's still capable of doing that type of a run. I can see no evidence to suggest he can't do it. Again, but he's going to need to hit the lids. There's no question about it. They're both players. You know, obviously Carrick Aldo and Broadstrand Sid are very much dominating the market. Broadstrand Sid in particular, but I still think the likes of Romeo Taylor and Road Exile can play a part in proceedings. Let's get to the opening heat of the round, which went to Mina Manito. Ballymac Kingdom out of the Derby runner-up Mina Miracle, beating a Derby runner-up in Ballymac Finn. This is a great buckle. Finn, like he's still just what a joy, a credit he is to his connections. He's probably not the dog he once was. Like he did briefly hit the front on the run in, and he should have won when he did. But Mina Manito was nothing if not determined. I get the impression with Mina Manito, he's a dog that probably won't win an awful long way, but there's a real battle hardened side to him.
Who's that for me or Tommy?
Sarah,
sorry,
don't mind.
I thought it ran very, very well, all right, but I didn't think he'd be able to beat Ballymac Finn, if I'm honest, just based on how Finn has been running. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. But 21:05, savage clock. I think he could do better as well. But that was off of 7:02. So you probably can't get much better than that. Like, but very, very good performance. But like Ballymac Finn is something else, isn't he? Like he's danced every dance. And I think it's great when these dogs can go from the 550s, 525s, and then go and win in sprints like your Trinity Junior and the other Kobe. And it's a big thing to try. If you don't try, you won't know. But now you could have Ballymac Finn in the final of the Bar One Irish Sprint Cup. Like it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, he's been a credit to Connections, no question about it. Tommy, this was a great buckle. Bar sort of a few strides between the first two bends. There was nothing more than a length between them at any real point in the contest, and it went right down to the wire.
Yeah, look, you say that you think the Manito dog won't win too far, but he has won 11 of his was 18 runs. He's a fair dog for finding a way to win races. It was a great bucket, and look, to be honest about it, anybody who looks at the race would think that maybe Ballymac Finn was the fastest dog in the race. He got chopped up at the first bend, lost a length or two, showed his great acceleration again to put his head in front off the second bend. Even watching the video, and it's kind of a funny angle, obviously, with the camera, but like even watching the video, I still think Ballymac Finn won. Like you would think it's that tight. I'm surprised that it's a head and not a short head, to be honest about it, because I would have thought it was a head the other way.
Camera angle's a long way behind the line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long way behind. So you don't know. Ballymac Finn is just a tremendous dog. Curiously enough, actually, just I think if I'm right, we were talking about Carrick Allen, we were kind of lauding him a little bit and all that, coming back and being as good this year as he was last year. I think the second, third, and fourth from the final last year have all been renamed and are running in England. I think I'm right about that.
Yeah,
So it's
certainly
nice to see
certainly
him
the dog
here.
with Michael O'Donovan trained. He's gone over to England,
Who
all
have
right.
I toasted Des and Ballymac Samuel maybe?
Yeah, it could be right. It could be right. Um, The semi-finals will take place on Saturday night. Just briefly go through them there. Mina Manito, Broadstrand Sid, Romeo Taylor on the nose, Elite Kursk Black Nose Clover, and the second heat Trinity Junior, Ballymac Finn, Road Exile, Carrick Aldo, Dynamic Force, and Law Hill Bruce. All eyes will be on Broadstrand Sid in that opening heat, but they need to be on his toes early. Mina Manito on his inside will not make life easy for him, nor will Romeo Taylor in 3. And then you have Elite Kursk out in trap 5, an absolutely cracking affair. Difficult enough to, yeah, listen, Broadstrand Sid will still be a hot favourite, but he just can't afford to give them a length of traps. He'll need to, he could find that door closing on him pretty quickly if he doesn't break on terms. If he breaks on terms, I think he'll be too clear to the opening corner. Elite Kursk will be probably his nearest rival at that point, with Romeo Taylor also on the scene, but it's a cracking contest, really one to look forward to. And the second heat, Road Exile's just drawn in trap 3 on the inside of Carrick Aldo. That's an interesting sort of draw. Dynamic Force, Law Hill Bruce. On the inside, you've got Trinity Junior, Ballymac Finn. It's a cracking contest again, but Carrick Aldo, trap 4, he has won from there in the past round. Dundalk, you suspect he'll be warm enough order to go on and land the spoils, but there's no real room for error in either heat, Tommy.
I think there's more room for error in the second heat. I think Carrick Aldo, he's a middle seed. We have to remember that he's a middle seed, just because I know it often tends to leave you out in 6 or whatever. Plenty of experience there. Dynamic Force at the moment isn't flying out, has massive early pace. Lockheed Bruce isn't flying out. It should give Carrick Aldo plenty of chance to turn as close as he needs to be too strong for his rivals there. Ballymac Finn ran so well. He ran so well the other night. You just couldn't rule him out. But Carrick Allo is a special sprinter, and to my mind, he's in the form of his life. I think he's a bet. The other heat is much more difficult because anything could happen in the first few yards. If Romeo Taylor does 694, well, then Broadstrand Sid has to do something special, because he's got to clear Mina Manito as well as try get to a dog doing 694.
Yeah, no, it's pretty tight. Sarah, you'll be at the final, will you? August 15th. That's Thursday night.
Yeah, I'll be there buzzing for it. Me, mum and dad will go down. We very rarely miss the big nights in Dundalk. Hopefully we'll have a runner on the night, you never know. But yeah, I'll be there, and I know they do a big thing. They have the horse racing on beforehand. I think again, we won't go to that now, just go to the dogs. But those 2 semi-finals, I would go with Carrigaldo, obviously. And the opens, you can't not go for Sid, just based on the fact that he's 2057 around the track. Like, how can you not go for him? But if he misses the kick, I'd go with Elite Kursk.
Yeah. 2 wonderful semi-finals. The stage is set, I suspect, for an unbelievable final to this year's Barwon Racing Irish Sprint Cup. Tommy, you've mentioned it. It could potentially be as strong a renewal as we've ever seen of the competition, certainly if it goes right on Saturday night. Tommy, we'll lead with you just because the Casco Derby continued at Cork on Saturday night. A couple of good performances. The first of the 2 heats went to Romeo Control, big 85-pound Greyhound, but he's really taken to Cork. That was the second win on the spin, to 28.09 last week, 28.20 on Saturday night. He's going the right way. He's very lightly raced. He's very young, but he's clearly a fast Greyhound.
Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, the run from trap 1 the previous week, and it's a great trap, as we've talked about a million times. Trap 1 in Curry is one of the best traps in the country, over 5 yards. The run the previous night might have just given him that confidence, because he didn't fly out of 2 the other night in semi-final, but he showed lovely acceleration too. He needed probably most of the length of the straight to get a clear length, maybe a length and a half going into the bend, so he could have crossed. But it might have just given him a bit of confidence, because he did 28.09, with a solo off 3:26. He did 28.20 off a 3:36, having to pass dogs on the way to the bend. So I think it's probably a better run. He's certainly a dog that'll break 28 seconds.
Yeah, Churchtown Sid won the second heat. Tommy, we've said many's a time in the past what a joy he must be to own for, Michael Crotty, Dennis Fitzgerald doing a great job with him. He's a dog we would have seen early in his career in Dublin. I think he won a dual or tri-distance in Dublin in a good time. It's a long, long time ago at this stage. I think that's 2022. But he just, every time he rocks up to one of these competitions, he gives us all. He's won 4 in a bounce now.
He's been in the top three 49 times. He's won 16 times. He's won a 10 grand stake, I think, the last year. Dennis is an excellent trainer. Mick Crotty is a great supporter, and a great supporter of Dennis, actually. And this dog, I'm glad that he's got a dog like this. He had dogs around here in Youghal and Cork here for years and years. I'd say, I can't say for certain. I'd say this might be one of the best, if not the best one that he's ever had. But I mean, a dog that's April 20 and has run as consistently well as he is. And as you get older, these dogs get older. The likes of Greyhound Park 525, it gets quite sharp. If you're young dogs doing 320s and 330s and whatever else, he's able to match them at the moment. He's running out of his skin. So credit to them all, and I hope for Mick Crowley's sake he goes on to do it. Look, it's going to be difficult to beat Romeo Control, but he is a smashing dog, Church on Suit.
Yeah, I think this fellow was owned by the Pillar Syndicate briefly at the start of his career, Sarah. He was 1 from 17. The biggest problem he did was he won his second race in 28-29 around Tralee. That would have been in the Juvenile Classic, and it sort of set him up for, he was thrown in the deep end. It took him a long, long time. For a dog to be 1 and 17 and now have won 16 times, it's pretty remarkable. Like the penny dropped, and by God, he hasn't stopped winning.
Yeah, that's true. I remember seeing him he was definitely in the Champion Plate or the Champion Stakes final. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Plate. But yeah, no, he's a wonderful servant, that's for sure. And that was a great performance on Saturday night. And that Romeo Control as well. The fact that he finished in front of Callaway Ganari in that Dennis Linehan race, I think it was, or was it the other one? I can't remember. There was two or three finals on that night in Cork. And then to see Callaway Ganari go on and do the big runs in Shelbourne and stuff. So it just goes to show that Romeo Control is up there with him, and everyone's talking about Callaway Ganari. So they're not talking about Romeo Control as much, but he's of the same caliber. Do you understand me? Like, as we always mention every week, can't wait to see him in Shelbourne. I can't wait to see him run in Shelbourne to see what he could do. But an excellent competition that.
You
really
mentioned
good.
Callaway Ganari. I just wrote it this morning, 27.89 again in Shelbourne Park in a trial.
God.
He's hugely fast, but looking at his opening sectional, I think he's more of a 550-yard dog. Looking forward, he could be one for the Derby. I suspect they'll be throwing him into the Juvenile Derby with a view to probably getting more experience. 525 yards might be a fraction sharp for him, but we will find out in the coming weeks. Of course, the Juvenile Derby set to start this weekend. Let's move on to Tralee. Two Cork Cullen winners, the two semi-finals of the MCP Group 750. What do we say about Tono Charlie that we haven't said before? 14.92, making it 12 on the spin. Sarah, you were there to see his track record breaking run the previous week, I believe. Were you? You were?
No, I was there for the Cork Cullen, all right, yeah.
All right. Sensational greyhound. He's just a sensationally fast tracker. 40.76 in the opening round. Yes, they added 40 to it, but it remains a track record 40.76. 40.92 the other evening. As we said, 12 on the spin. That's pretty bloody remarkable, Sarah. It's 12 on the spin, but it's also 15 from his last 16.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're not going to see that again, I don't think, for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, dogs like this come along every now and again, and he is so special. Like, to do it over 6 bends, all right, you'd understand if it was like over a sprint or 525 or something, but to do it over 6 bends, consistently week after week, well, not week after week, obviously he has breaks in between or whatever, but it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to see. I feel like the dog doesn't even get enough mention as he should, because it's a 750. If this was a 550 dog, I think he'd be talked about more. That's how I feel about it. I just think everyone should be shouting from the rooftops about this dog. And Sharon Hunt and the connections, they're lovely, lovely people. She texts me every week and she updates me on Charlie. He's in great form, he's super, he's bouncing, lovely woman and a brilliant, brilliant dog. I mean, he should go on and win this final now, but also for Ballyhooly, TJ and Droopy's comrade, obviously they were in the final of the Cork Cullen with him, so it's nice to see them, the top 3, getting through to the final. But a stunning, stunning greyhound. I love him, I really do.
Yeah, as well as Ballyhooly, TJ and Droopy's comrade are running Tommy. There are 7 lengths and 5 lengths behind him. He just looks in a league of his own, doesn't he?
And this dog has a constitution of a lion. I mean, you give him. He looked. We talked about him getting maybe getting a bit tired, and when he had the was it the final of the Cork Cullen, and he beat Ballyhooly, TJ and Neck, and he'd beaten, I think, Wherever the previous week we kind of thought maybe things would just begin to catch up with him. You give him 3 or 4 weeks off and run him again, and he's back. But the beauty was the Ballyhooly TJ broke really well and turned in second place, and you think, "Ooh, this could be a little bit of a race." Not so, not so. Tono Charlie is just doing what he was been doing before. I think we were
Yeah.
right. I think all the runs were just catching up at that time. But the constitution of a lion to take a 2 or 3 week break, like it's not like he's completely getting. He's just not racing. He's not getting a full break. He just freshened up a little bit and back to his very best. An absolute joy. He's one of the stories of the year, and he's one of the most enjoyable greyhounds to watch of the year because I don't think Trap One is exactly ideal for him either. I think he breaks better from the middle. He seems to
Yeah.
fly out
Yeah.
the likes of four. He's just an absolute and utter joy. That's what he is. Beating Ballyhooly TJ, I'm telling you, is a 7 lengths is a savage performance. And we mightn't think much of it looking at it, but he like we said before, he tends not to give his rivals a chance. Ballyhooly TJ had a chance where he turned, and he decided, no, you don't have a chance. Actually, sorry about that now, but I'm not in the same form as in the current Cullen final. I'm in better form. Good luck.
Yeah, no, a remarkable greyhound. Do you remember the last one to build up a sequence like this? I'm sure there have been a few that have built up sequences. He's still, what, a
Mega Delight.
12? Mega Delight went to 16. She went to 16.
She?
And do you know what race she was beaten the 17th?
No.
Your neck of the woods.
Final or something, was it?
It was the final of
Barry's
Barry's Tea down in Cork. Yeah. What did she go on and throw, Sarah?
Oh God, don't ask me. I'm brutal at stuff like that. That's your area. Come on, tell us.
A dual English Derby winner called Westmead Hawk.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're going back a good few years.
She was
so,
very,
yeah.
very, very special. She was trained by Seamus Graham, very, very special lady, and turned out to be an even better brood bitch. What a remarkable performer she was. And prior to that, what did the same sequence? I think he did 15, maybe 16 in a row.
Probably a sprinter trained by Paul Hens. Did he not do
Perhaps
the
the greyhound with the highest profile of all over the last 25 years.
25.
Sydney.
I'm not old enough.
Late Show.
Did he do that many? Did he?
Yep.
Jeez, I remember when he started off, Ian,
15 or
you
16
and
in a
I
row.
backing him and him finishing second, him finishing hard and late and getting beaten in Shelbourne Park, and he driving us mad.
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
he won. I think about 15 or 16 in a row. He was a remarkable greyhound too. The second he went to Kinturk Road, if I'd pressed pause off the fourth bend after getting bad traffic to knock her back to fifth spot at that time, and I told you she'd win by 3 parts of length, you'd have told me I was a madman. Yes, it's 42.04. Yes, it's over a second slower than Tono Charlie. A remarkable win all the same, Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Told you she doesn't like to win too far. But normally she's in front. Normally she's in front when she does that. She's terrific. Like, in fairness to her, she won the heat the previous weekend. Again, the time was a nice bit off what Toronto Charlie was doing, but she's been brought back off a bit of a break and is running really well. I know, we all know there's better in her. She's capable of better than the clocks.
She did 8 in a row.
She
did 8 in a row last year herself.
Yeah,
she was Stayer of the Year. She won the Cork Cullen. Tono Charlie's 12 in a row now. He's won Cork Cullen, and I dare say it's probably not giving away any secrets. I suspect he might win Stayer of the Year. It's great to see
he might be Dog of the Year too.
It's great to see that. It's great to see the two of them clashing. They're this. Kinturk Road is going to have to do everything right to even threaten them. But at the same time, it's wonderful to see them clashing. Throw in the likes of Ballyhooly TJ and Droopy's Comrade. It's a cracking little final. Tono Charlie be 2 on, and you'd suspect he'll break in front and stay there. But it's still a cracking little final, and strange things can happen in these finals, as we saw with Mega Delight and the Barry's T750 a long time ago. Cracking competition, Sarah. It's a welcome addition to the calendar. We need more 750-yard competitions. Well done to all involved down in Kingdom. They're making things happen down there.
They are, yeah. There's so much going on at the track. Like, you've got the Juvenile, you've got the Eric Brown Memorial Derby. They do huge benefit nights. They have the Lee Strand. They have this new competition. They have the Rose of Tralee lunch coming up. They're doing everything right down there. They're getting the crowds in. The whole team get together, like Ina up in the restaurant and Heather, and Ina sends us in pictures every week of a packed restaurant and everyone enjoying themselves. And every track should probably follow suit of what the Kingdom are doing. And they've great teamwork down there. They get the big, like Heather gets huge benefit nights in, and it's packed down there, like huge GAA community, as we all know the Kingdom is anyway. But yeah, they do.
To even shorten it, a great sense of community down there.
Yes, and they actually have community night coming up. Yeah. I seen something on Instagram last week. I'll find it and actually put it up today. They're having a community night. I don't know when it is, but I did see something. I'll share it. But it'll be on Talking Dogs and for anyone who wants to go to it. But yeah, a brilliant community spirit down there, Ian, for sure.
We've done an awful lot of talking today, so we don't have an awful lot
Yes.
of time left. I want to mention the Martin Fahey Memorial. Martin passed away last October, and the first Martin Fahey Memorial went to Glyn's Cross Ted on Saturday night, winning in 29:42. Well done to all for throwing the Martin Fahey Memorial and remembering a great man, and good to see a decent winner down there at Glyn's Cross Ted. Also want to mention just a few runs at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, certainly worth a mention. Looking through the card, the first two races were heats of a dual distance. Get Up Me Lad, 28-25, really like the way he ran, and Seven Beach 28-23. Tommy, we've known for quite some time he's a talented greyhound. I know you're a fan of his. I thought the Foxy Devil ran well in second spot coming back from an injury layoff. He's had 3 or 4 runs. I think Skippy has him back to something like his best, Skippy and Mary. There was the heats of a bitch 525, both won in fine style. Jerry Merriman's flying at present, 28-33 winner Highview. Jasmine, Teasy on Fire initiated a double from Tralee. The A2 dual distance 575, you wouldn't have expected this to produce the run of the night, given it was an A2 contest, but I think Deadly Disco, everyone's pinpointed this one from the previous week. It took over early. It went on to win by 9 lengths in 30.65. The joint second fastest time ever done for the 575-yard trip. Has an absolutely massive engine. Well done to Gary Hannon and Michael O'Donovan. That'll be very, very hard to beat in the final of that. I was really taken by Robbie's Galaxy in the semi-finals of the upcoming Yvonne Barry Open Dual Distance. This competition worth €3,500 to the winner, and it's called the upcoming Yvonne Barry AO Dual Distance. So obviously a big dual distance coming up with worth big money, sponsored by Yvonne Barry, who's done plenty of sponsorship in Shelbourne Park over the last few years. Great thanks to her. But Robbie's Galaxy, Tommy, this is a great old-fashioned greyhound, big stride, big engine, was second to Neon Lights into the back straight. Neon Lights is very strong. Robbie's Galaxy absolutely thoroughly outpaced him into the third bend, really galloped to the line. He didn't quite get 750 yards, he got 700 yards, and he just fell into a hole a couple of weeks previous, but sharpened up with a 525-yard run. This is the type of dog I love, Tommy, as you well know.
Very much your type of dog. All right, Ian. We did lament a little bit that we say we mightn't have a huge kind of a kind of top greyhounds for the Derby that are of the older generation. There's still plenty of them there, but it's the stuff coming through is what we're getting excited about. Although it's funny that we have been saying that for a few weeks. You think we have 200 Charlie around with all those sprinters. One of those is going to come out with something spectacular in the final of the Bar One Sprint. The next thing we'll be saying is we have a brilliant sprinter, we have a brilliant six bend dog. We'll have loads of good 525, 550 dogs. There is a wealth of talent. I don't care. I mean, maybe it's so competitive that you're saying, "Oh, we don't have a standout dog," because they're so good. The dogs are breaking 28 seconds a lot at the moment.
Yeah, I know you. I knew you were going to break that up. Our Cracker won the second heat of that unraced, or that dual distance, should I say? He didn't lead. He won 30-80. I was a hell of a run. I suspect that he can go up faster than that. He'll put it up to them all in the final, Our Cracker, especially if he hits the lids. A big run by Dark Dilemma over 525 yards. This is a dog, I'd call him a penny dropper. He's a December 21, but he'd shown plenty of promise in 1 or 2 of his previous starts. He'd won in 28.50 there in May, but his last 2 starts, 28.29 and 28.13 the other evening. It wasn't the fact that he's done 28.13, like the track is rated 20 fast, and it's easily 20 fast. It was the manner in which he dispatched his rivals. Very impressive for David Murray and Alan Devine. They've got some twist out of this litter. They're all very talented. High Trend won. It didn't look likely for much of the way. The Laurels champion picked up Droopy's Metaphor on the line to win in 28.41. Good to see him back to something like his best. High Trend. He took a bumper too early, got a little bit involved with Rathdown Molly, but ran very hard to get up in the line. And the last race of the night went to Murtlahy, completing a double with Bonkers in Yonkers. The wonderfully named Bonkers in Yonkers. He's never a big price in the tote, given his name. Cheap Sandwiches wasn't a big name or a big price either. It's funny when you name them like that, Tommy, they're often well supported in the tote.
Mhm.
Well, Bunkers and Yonkers, I supported him well in the heat of the Derby last year. I don't think he did me a favour now, unfortunately. But
He's not one to hold a grudge, Sarah. Lots of great racing on at the moment, Sarah, up and down the country. Hard to keep up to date with it all.
It is hard to keep up to date with all, and it all bloody happens at a weekend as well. So you're trying to decide where to go. Do I go to Cork? Do I go to Limerick? Do I go to Shelbourne? Do I want to see Callaway Ganari? Do I want to see Toronto Charlie? Like, you can't be everywhere. But that's the good.
My father was from a newspaper game, and you know how they used to decide that?
No.
Wherever the greatest mileage was.
Yeah, well, lucky for him. But yeah, I don't know where. I don't think I'm actually going anywhere this weekend either because of a busy week. This week. So yeah, I don't actually know. But if I was to go somewhere on Saturday, I would like to go down to Tralee.
To watch the final of the 750.
Yeah, but I'm going to be in Tralee then for the Rose of Tralee event, so I'll say, but I don't know. Keep up to date with my Instagram, and you'll find out.
It pops up there anytime you up with Instagram. You see Sarah. She is prolific.
Don't bother keeping up with my social media
on the old socials. What do you say, Tommy?
Don't bother keeping up with my social media. It's basically non-existent.
You stick in the odd retweet when someone tags you.
I'm too old for that stuff.
Do you know what we'll do? We'll get Sarah. Sarah, would you do me a favor? Any tweet or anything on Instagram over the next 3 weeks, tag Tommy Lyons and see how many you respond.
Do not.
He's on Instagram, are you, Tommy?
No.
No, you're only on Twitter, I think. Yeah.
He doesn't have a face for Instagram. In fairness,
I'll tag you in and wreck your head now.
Don't worry about it. Plenty of people tag me. Folks, I think we've got through an awful lot. We've spoken an awful lot. I couldn't shut the two of you up. I think that's it for the week. Loads to look forward to on the weekend. Sarah doesn't know where she's going to be. I know where I'm going to be, Tommy. I'll be at Shelbourne Park. The Juvenile Derby commences on Friday night. Don't get caught out there. Commences on Friday night. Should be a great, great competition. Real clues for the future involved in that one. But wonderful racing throughout. We've got finals in Tralee, we've got finals in Cork, we've got semi-finals of classics, both Shelbourne or both at Limerick and of course Dundalk. Really looking forward to both of them. I think it's safe to say each and every one of the competitions we've mentioned are really coming to really coming to a boil at the right time, as they should do. We haven't lost all that many names in either the Ledger or the Bar One Racing Irish Sprint Cups, so we look forward to both. That's it though. My thanks again to the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, and of course to the Cheshire Cat, Sarah Kinsella, on this Tuesday. Best of luck. We'll see you next time. Good luck, good evening. God bless.